My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for joining us once again. We begin from Washington, D.C. in the U.S., where President Akufo-Addo has been seeking the support of American businesses to invest in developing the country's infrastructure. Addressing 50 U.S. governors in Washington, D.C., the president noted that the current infrastructure deficit was a big challenge for the economy. He said his government was ready to partner the private sector to meet this deficit.
The key challenge of our economy, like many other economies in Africa, is our infrastructural deficit. We're embarking on an aggressive public-private partnership program to attract investment in the development of both our road and railway infrastructure. We are hopeful that with solid private sector participation, we can develop a modern railway network with strong production center linkages and with the potential to connect us to our neighbors to the north, i.e. Burkina Faso, the west, i.e. Côte d'Ivoire, and to the east, i.e. Togo. Apart from prosecuting their agenda of building with the private sector at least one factory in each district of Ghana, the time has come for Ghana to develop strategic industries out of its abundant natural resources of bauxite and iron ore. We shall shortly establish an integrated bauxite aluminum development authority to assemble the relevant financial resources for the systematic exploitation and development of our bauxite deposits. By the same token, we've decided to exploit our substantial iron ore and manganese deposits situated in the western and northern regions of our country to build an integrated steel industry to serve the needs of our country and region. We're making systematic efforts to develop our new oil and gas industry, into which ExxonMobil has just appeared, signing on 18th January of this year a major offshore oil and gas exploration and production agreement with Ghana. We're determined also to establish the relevant petrochemical industry to take advantage of the growth of our oil and gas industry. There is a lot of opportunity for American capital, technology, and enterprise in Ghana and indeed in Africa. And we welcome companies from all your states to participate in the exceptional opportunities that exist in our country and on the continent.
And that was President Akufo-Addo addressing U.S. governors there. It's the first time an African leader has addressed such a meeting in the U.S. Now, back to Accra, where the Finance Ministry has also been briefing the press, hinting the country is likely to end the IMF program by the end of this year. There have been persistent questions on whether or not the current government would continue with the program. But speaking at the Finance Minister's engagement with business journalists, Ken Ofori-Atta said the country has so far met the economic indicators and is likely that during the next review, which is slated for April, the country's stance will be made known.
And when you see the explanation given on the primary balance, it doesn't really matter irrespective of what it is. You can see efforts towards moving the matrix such that we really are trying hard not to borrow to support borrowing. And I think that that's an important story in and of itself. I suspect even the rebasing is going to even give us a bigger and give us technically more capacity to borrow more. But what is really critical is the payments relative to revenue. So then we come back to, how much we can get our revenue bolstered, and that's why Kofi Nti is sitting here, so that we can put more pressure on him. But I think that that's a key issue. With regards to IMF in December 2018, that's a commitment by the presidency. I don't know, I know we have some two also prior actions we need, and about maybe 5 or so and structural bank matter we need to be able to to be able to do the April 9th board meeting, and we are committed to doing that, and we will do that. Then the rest of the year will be ahead of us. But I think one of the key issues really, it's the ministry working together with GRA and the Ghanaian people to really boost up our revenues. That's key. I think all of the reforms that you may have mentioned or thought of, I don't think they are things that we would not want to do anyway. And so.
Now, economist and former board chairman of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Ishmael Yamson, is calling for an audit into the various incentives given by the government to foreign businesses and investors. According to Ishmael Yamson, government must conduct a cost-benefit analysis on all tax holidays to help the state have a fair idea of how much is being gained or lost from the incentives under the policy initiatives. Here is Ebenezer Sabute's report.
Government in the 2017 budget granted some tax incentives to selected sectors of industry players as a way of encouraging more investment in those sectors. This was government's response to the call for a flexible economic environment for businesses in the country. After 2 years of implementation, however, some experts think the tax incentives have not yielded the desired results. In an interview with Joy Business, renowned economist Ishmael Yamson thinks it is time for government to commission a research into the tax incentives.
Ghana is in competition with almost every country in the world. If I have $1 million, I can choose to put it in any country, either in Africa or Asia, whatever. And I will look for the company that will give me the best terms of investment, including, of course, a macro environment and a micro environment, which is attractive and enabling. So that's the reason why I think that when we give incentives and benefits, we shouldn't always complain. But let me add that often it's not the incentives and benefits that are excessive, but it is the way we manage, we monitor. Because if you have given incentive benefits over time to a particular company, you should monitor and make sure that you are getting the benefit that you are supposed to get. And don't give them away and go to sleep.
He spoke with Joy Business after addressing some members of the UK Chamber of Business and Commerce here in Accra. Ishmael Yamson urged organizations to exercise patience in criticizing some of the incentive policies by government.
Very often, when we hear about, oh, this company has been given this incentive and this, our immediate reaction is to say, we are giving so much away. I think what we should do is to be patient enough to analyze how much it is going to cost this country, say over a 5-year period, in granting those incentives and benefits, and how much would we get in return in terms of taxes, in terms of jobs created, in terms of other multiplier effects that the country would benefit. And not just look at the only one side of the cost of the country without looking at the benefit that the country would derive from giving out those benefits incentives.
The engagement was part of moves by the UK Chamber of Commerce and Business to inform members about some initiatives by government to attract British investors.
With only 2 days to the rollout of the much talked about tax stamp policy, Joy Business's checks at some local manufacturing firms show the stamps are not being fixed onto the products. It's obvious that the local manufacturing firms are not ready with the installation of affixing machines. Charles Aite has been to the Coca-Cola bottling company to ascertain its readiness to meet the deadline.
Here at the warehouse of the Coca-Cola bottling company, you can see tens of cartons of bottled, products here. Now, all these cartons do not have the tax stamps on them, as being, ordered by government. We shall be finding out the main reasons why, especially as the 1st of March deadline for the rollout of the tax stamp policy is underway. During our visit to the factory and warehouse of Coca-Cola Bottling Company, the observation was that the multinational company lacked an affixing machine, as requested by the new tax stamp policy. Head of Corporate Affairs at the Coca-Cola Bottling plant at Spintex in Accra, Bethel Yeboah tells Joy Business his outfit is still engaging government for a possible reconsideration of the tax stamp policy.
Currently, as you know, I'm talking to you now, we have not, acquired the affixing machine, and so you would definitely not see, a tax stamp on our products.
So far, government has contracted a USA-based firm, Authentics, to help roll out the tax stamp system, ostensibly to monitor the production and importation of bottled beverages and water. According to Bethel Yeboah, all efforts by the US-based company to sign an agreement with Coca-Cola has proved futile.
As far as Authentics is concerned, the engagement in the past up until now has been, how do you get, the affixing machine in terms of like the cost and stuff like that. Those are the engagements that we've had with Authentics.
The Coca-Cola Bottling Company is one of the largest local manufacturing companies in Ghana, producing close to about 100,000 cartons of bottled soft drinks a day for the wholesale and retail market. Several other local manufacturing firms would now have to find ways of investing over $800,000 for the installation of the affixing machines. Typically, if we were to see a tax stamp on this product, where would we have seen it? Which part of the bottle?
Okay, currently, according to the policy, it's supposed to be affixed in a manner that would be visible to the average consumer who goes to purchase at a shop outlet. Okay, so it would have to be affixed, on top, of the closure, as my hands indicate over here.
So far, checks by Joy Business show that no beverage manufacturer, including Guinness Ghana Brewery Limited, Casapreco Company Limited, Accra Brewery Limited, Pepsi Ghana Limited, and Coca-Cola Bottling Company Limited, had procured or installed the tax stamp affixing machine needed for the smooth enforcement of the policy. For Joy Business, Charles Aita reporting.
And just in case you're wondering, the implementation date for the tax stamp policy is the 1st of March. That is this Thursday. We are pushing ahead now to the oil industry, where the takeover of Hess Petroleum's assets in the Tanokip 3 Points blocked by Aker Energy has been criticized by some industry players. The Norwegian oil exploration firm Aker last Monday announced it had taken over 50% of Hess Petroleum's stake in the blocks, subject to regulatory approval. George Affe has more.
Reports monitored from some news websites in Norway indicates that Aker Energy is buying the American firm's assets for $100 million. According to Aker, it is planning to present the development plan for the block to government this year, with commercial production expected in 2021. The block, which is located a few meters away from the Jubilee field, holds an estimate of 550 million barrels of crude oil. However, for some industry experts that Joy Business has engaged, they are questioning the circumstances under which Hess, the American firm, disposed those assets to the Norwegian company. That is, whether Hess first sought the permission from the Energy Minister and the Petroleum Commission, and even showing the oil data to an external party with an intention of selling it. Also, whether the necessary local content requirement has been met, and whether the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation was also given the first right of purchase. Some of these analysts are even pushing for the deal to be put on hold if all these requirements were not met. Sources say Hess has to dispose its assets in Ghana because of challenges in securing fresh capital for its operations in the country.
Meanwhile, energy expert Ishmael Ejekumhene has been explaining possible reasons for which international oil company Hess could relinquish part of its stake in an oil block it is getting to exploit. Now, he spoke to Emmanuel Abuajiri earlier on the marketplace.
Well, basically, it's a business, and if they feel they can cash in at this stage so that they bring in a partner to help them develop the field, I think it was a business decision that Hess took, and so long as they haven't breached any law, nobody can fault them for taking that business decision.
So why did it wait until this time to take this particular decision?
Well, the ITLOS thing was hanging over everybody's neck. There was so much uncertainty, So now that the ruling is out and they are in the process of submitting the POD to the government, if they wanted to assign portions of their interest to another party, the law allows that, provided they would inform the National Oil Company, GNPC, and I suspect they've done that because I've read in some of the publications that they're quoting the GNPC boss as being excited to have ACAs coming into the scene.
All right, now could this be subject? I mean, the company's statement said it was waiting approval from government. Now it has gone on further to announce it even before the approval. Would it pose any problems to the industry?
No, they have declared their intentions to the GNPC that they intend selling 50% of their participating stake. So it's up to GNPC to raise any objection if there is any. But the law says that they will not be allowed to unduly withhold that approval. So unless they have a very strong case against the Norwegian company coming into our space, they will not be allowed to unduly withhold such approval. But yes, they can only do that they can only do that with the express permission of GNPC or the states. And I'm saying that I don't know whether the GNPC has any objection because I've read, and again, it's in the same publication that announced the deal. I've read a quotation directly attributable to the boss of GNPC saying that they are excited to have ACAs coming in. So I would imagine that they wouldn't have any objection, but they didn't say the deal has gone through, but they're saying that they are proposing to sell and be subject to the approval of GNPC.
Well, some perspective for you. There have been some concerns about the issue of transparency when it comes to oil and gas production, whether we have an effective monitoring system in place to know exactly the amount of oil coming out from the seabed, and also knowing whether Ghana is generating the required resources from its hydrocarbon operations. Well, we chanced upon this video, which offers perhaps the best solution to producing petroleum resources in a more transparent manner.
This is the heart of our operation. This is the nerve center.
It keeps going. Look at this. This is gigantic. He gave us a tour of the company's command center, where engineers scrutinize and analyze every aspect of the company's operations on a 220-foot digital screen.
Every facility in the kingdom, every drop of oil that comes from the ground is monitored in real time.
In this room?
In this room. And we have control of each and every facility, each and every pipeline, each and every valve on the pipeline, and therefore we know exactly what is happening in the system from A to Z.
What this map shows is all the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. That big green blob in the middle is Ghawar, the largest onshore oil field in the world. And the one on top is Safaniya, the largest offshore oil field in the world. And these green squares are super tankers that are being monitored on the high seas in real time. So there's not anything that goes on with oil, with Saudi Arabian oil, that isn't known in this room right now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How much did this facility cost you?
What would it take for us to install such a facility? Just wondering. Well, turning attention to the mining sector, and mine workers have described as prudent decision by Anglo Gold Ashanti to reopen the Obuasi gold mine for redevelopment. The mining giant last week announced it has reached an agreement with government to reopen the mine after it was shut down in 2014. There's more in the following report.
According to the Ghana Mine Workers Union, the umbrella body for the mine workers, the move is critical to help turn around the dwindling fortunes of the mining sector. It maintained that workers must be put at the center of this redevelopment to ensure that they get what is due them and their right of association is respected, adding that any compensation package as well must be guided by best international practices. The union is also looking forward to see how AngloGold seeks to deliver on favorable investment returns, looking at the current price of gold. The Mine Workers Union is also asking the public to follow with keen interest the redevelopment agreement which is before Parliament to ensure that Ghana gets the best out of the deal. It is also asking government to tread cautiously over a proposal by some of the mining firms for new tax waiver agreements.
CEO of the Private Enterprise Federation, Anose Bonsu, is advocating technical assistance as a key consideration when giving out funds to entrepreneurs. Mr. Osebonsu, who spoke to Joy Business, explained that existing professionals must be ready to impart the experience to relatively younger ones. This, he noted, will go a long way to assist upcoming entrepreneurs access funding from various sources. He was reacting to the Business Development Minister's proposed 10 million cedi fund for female entrepreneurs.
The format of funding, it has always been debt, credit. I wouldn't go that angle. That's why I said partnership. If there's a partnership and you give them equity interest, equity funding, that is non-repayable at the end of the day, and once they make money, you share in the profits, and also supporting that with technical assistance. That's the way to go. I agree with them that the debt angle that we've always gone had always been the detriment of the business, because what are you going to pay with? The same money you borrowed in about 2 years, even if they give you a moratorium of 6 months, you're still going to pay.
Now, the chief executive of PEF is also of the view that the model of funding for the entrepreneurs should not be solely based on debt financing.
In our environment, we don't have the technical competencies and skill sets to do business like other jurisdictions. So if you expect somebody to take a plunge, then you got to make it comfortable for them to at least think that, okay, I'm going to go with double feet, and this time around I should be able to land. But if you accompany the provision of funding to the provision of technical assistance, so you have some technical people who work and walk them through the various challenges and constraints of doing business, then you can be successful more than the average.
You're watching Business Live. We are taking a breather. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Time to bring you our interview of the day, and your preferred on-air business development program masterclass is getting up close and personal. Don't miss the chance to engage our facilitators on how to grow your business, taking it to the next level and spotting the opportunities which will turn your business around. And with me to talk about it is Assistant Editor in charge of events, Odilia Ntiamwa, who has been spearheading this masterclass on-ground event. We know masterclass to be a radio program.
That's right.
And now we are taking it to the ground. Yes. Explain.
Okay. So we have facilitators that come on the program every time. Now what we want to do is for people to get up close and personal with them, get to be able to ask them tailor-made questions. And so if you have a business and you really would want to have the opportunity to have other sources of finance, we have venture capital that will be coming to talk about it. So instead of just thinking about the usual bank loans, you have the option of hearing from the venture capital. If you're also thinking of taking your business to another level in terms of innovation, technology, you have somebody, 3 people who are going to be talking about innovation and tech and how you can build a resilient business. And so all of these people, 6 panelists, are going to be giving out very critical information to people on various aspects of business. Now, there's going to be a 5-minute presentation each by, all the panelists, 6 of them. First session, second session, and then they will all do 5 minutes before then they sit down to have a whole discussion, and based on that, people can ask questions.
Let's talk about the theme for the event, because I find that to be very interesting. Transforming startups and SMEs.
Yes.
Think local, act global. I think it's a very interesting topic, especially for our SMEs at this time where we're trying to be globally competitive.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this.
So what we're saying is that a lot of times when people are setting up businesses, all they think about is satisfying the local market. Now, if you really want your business to be big, because people are looking at moving from one border to the other, and so if you want your business to be big, exactly how do you think? How do you even do put together your logo? How do you put together your team that actually will be a local team but still be looking at global perspectives? How do you prepare yourself, even social media, all the other opportunities on the internet? How do you prepare yourself for all of these? And so these are some of the things that we'll be talking about.
And it's happening this Wednesday at 9,
just 2 days away,
9 o'clock at the Best Western Premier Hotel.
Yes.
Of course, in the coming days, we'll be talking more about that. That's it for Business Live. Thanks for watching. My name is Darryl Kwao.
Okay.